Family and friends gathered in Nashville to remember 9-year-old Evelyn Dickhouse in the first funeral for victims of the shooting at the Covenant School.
Society on every single aspect accepts them. Justice system, government, schools, mainstream media, social media.
We're more concerned that we dead named this psychopath than that children were killed.
As you may already be aware, on March 27th in Nashville, Tennessee, a school shooting took place. A transgender extremist broke into a Christian school and killed 6 people.
The President of the United States addressing the school shooting at Nashville that we have witnessed today.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. God.
So my first question is, why are people laughing? Why are they treating this like a joke?
Yeah.
He came down just to talk about ice cream? I mean, I guess he did admit that the only reason he came down was because there was ice cream, not to talk about murdered children and that there's a mental health epidemic in the United States. No, he's going to use this as an opportunity to make a mockery of this. And the people there watching, actually, I'm more sickened even by them because they're also treating this as a joke. I mean, Joe Biden, we got to cut him some slack. I mean, he doesn't even know where he is. The guy has dementia. He's deciding that he's going to turn this into a comedy routine.
And who are those good-looking kids back there? I had 2 brothers, 3 in our family, 3 brothers, and 1 sister. And my sister is smarter than all of us. Not a joke. She used to be 3 years younger than me. Now she's 23 years younger than me. We went to the same university 2 years apart. She graduated with honors. I graduated. And we had a simple rule in the family. Listen to Val.
But the people in there, it's despicable that their reaction to children being murdered is laughing at this buffoon on stage.
Yeah, I think he's genuinely at the place where he has to be rewarded with ice cream to go on stage, but straight from the offset, everything was treated like a joke. We're here to talk about a school shooting, and he comes down and says, the only reason I'm here is to get ice cream, and then waste time. And when he does address it, he just says it to plug in his gun bill.
I just want to speak very briefly about the school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart. The shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban. It's about time that we began to make some more progress.
Like, what is this? What does this come to? We're not even taking life seriously anymore. This is a horrible tragedy, but you don't care. It's all fun and games because, oh, look, it's Joe Biden, the dementia-ridden president we have.
Joe Biden used this as an opportunity to forward his political agenda in banning assault weapons. And that's pretty much all he did, addressing this tragic shooting, was to forward a ban on guns. That's his only solution. His silver bullet is to ban assault weapons. That'll solve the problem. So do you think that's the issue? Because guns haven't changed much in the last half century. Do you think that's the problem? What has changed? Has our spiritual perception, has our mental reality, what's changed in the last little while where this has become more prevalent of an issue?
I think our morality has changed most prevalently. I think that's the biggest reason they can't address this, is because if they talk about morality, well, they're all for, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want, say whatever you want, be as immoral as you want to be. That's what they're for. And they can't address the actual problem, which is this person, this transgender psychopath, because they'd be contradicting everything else they said. So the problem has to be guns for them. And guns stop 100% of school shootings, either by using the gun or by having the gun. So the problem is not the gun at all. It's the heart of the people. It's the heart of the nation. But they can't talk about that because this is a transgender person. And they could never put the blame on someone because the blame has to be on the guns. They need to get rid of the guns.
Yeah, I believe that's their agenda. I mean, the media will blame conservatives. They'll blame Christians. They'll blame everybody. They'll blame the guns, but they won't blame the actual person, the shooter, the root of the problem. They won't do that because that doesn't, of course, go with their agenda. They need to ban guns. That's their goal. Why do you think that's their goal?
You can control people if they're not armed. It's very easy to control a nation, manipulate a nation, dictate a nation if that nation can't defend itself. If you are the strong arm, if you're the one with the stick and they're the helpless one, who do you think is going to call the shots? Okay. If the American people right now in the US, there are about 400 million guns circulating, not counting for unregistered guns. The government may be more powerful than them, but there are not going to be zero consequences if they decide to go against the people or forcefully take it over. They cannot do whatever they want to do, whether it's the immorality with the sexual agenda, whether it's just dictating the entire nation. They cannot physically do that if the guns are taken away. It has to be a gun problem. And I find it awful. I think you guys are sick when a major US publication comes out with 5 extremely detailed, well-written, with graphs and charts, articles about guns and AR-15s and why they're the problem. The day this happens, they had them saved up until a tragedy like this would happen. I think that's despicable.
Yeah, the fact that they're using tragedy and the death of children to forward their political agenda is absolutely sickening. And you're right, this isn't a gun problem. I mean, let's say we ban all guns in the United States. Well, then you have a situation similar to Canada or the UK. There's still mass stabbings going on. There's
still
still
have mass shootings
violence
here.
There's still mass violence. There's no silver bullet to this issue.
No.
It's a mental health problem and it's a spiritual problem. And like you said, it's a heart problem. It's an individual problem.
Yeah.
It's not you ban guns and this is all going to go away. Violence is going to stop.
Yeah.
People will pick up rocks and kill each other. People kill people.
Yeah.
They're sinful and they're evil.
And what do you expect when you tell people whatever they do is just fine, that they can be a woman and pretend to be a man, that they can kill their own children? There aren't even laws in Canada to prohibit or even to sanction abortion. It's just a thing. What do you think people are going to do when, you know what? It's morally okay to kill babies. It's morally okay to pretend to be something I'm not in terms of sexuality. Why not kill people? Who cares? Today we live, tomorrow we die. Who cares? That's what you're telling people. So no, this isn't people. This isn't Christians' fault. This isn't us. We pushed you too far. We pushed you to the brink. We pushed you to this. No, you, the government, you, these devilish people pushed this to happen. These people made a conscious choice. I'm not putting that on the government, but I'm saying that you sanctioned this and you wanted this to happen.
Well, think about what the government and society is really doing. They're affirming a mental illness. They're saying it's okay. You can be this. We want you to commit suicide, essentially.
Every action they've taken seems to be driving towards the end goal of crushing the West, crushing Western civilization, because we were founded on the principle of God in authority. From sea to shining sea here in Canada, we were founded on the principle that God is in authority. And if they can crush that through not just the children, through the adults, through our news media, through everything, if they can bring us down, if they can, everything's acceptable. It's all acceptable. It's all okay. And actually, when it comes time to deal with a problem, because there are going to be consequences to this, as we're seeing, there's going to be results to this lifestyle, to this sanctioning of wickedness. When we see the consequences, then they blame us. Then they blame us for not being tolerant enough. Then they blame us for being law-abiding gun owners. Okay, this lady was hiding these 3 weapons. She wasn't supposed to have them. She was actually diagnosed with a mental illness. She was not stable. But then the problem is the legal gun owners, the people that have children that want to defend them. The problem is the security guard in front of the school who's armed protecting the children. You guys are sick.
And majority of violent gun crime actually happens with an illegal firearm.
Yeah.
And then you have places like Chicago, LA, New York. You have gun bans there. You can't carry in those cities, and yet you have the highest rate of violence in those cities.
Yeah.
Then you go to a place like Wyoming, or you go to a place like Texas,
Florida.
You have much less gun crime because a criminal is going to think twice if everyone's armed.
Yeah.
So what do you think the solution would be to preventing school shootings?
Well, first of all, schools actually need security. Okay, you need a security guard. You need a police officer at the front door. I think that's obvious by now. Once or twice it happens, which is still terrible. It happens like a school shooting, and it's a tragedy. But this many times, there have been 16 school shootings this year. At this point, we're going to have to realize, okay, the schools need security. And the people, I'm saying teachers, they probably need to be trained to be armed and be ready to use an assault weapon. Because this isn't going to stop just by banning guns for the people that are legally going to buy them and own them. This is going to be to arm the people that are going to legally buy and own them to protect themselves.
Well, if you ban guns and there's a school shooting happening, what do? You're going to call the people with guns.
Yeah.
So you're essentially saying, well, we're going to let this happen because, I mean, the police can't get there in time to stop a shooting.
Yeah.
So you're leaving them to die.
Yeah.
But let's say teachers were armed. Let's say they were trained with like police officers are trained to operate and own a firearm safely and to use it with deadly force if it's a situation of self-defense.
Yeah.
Do you think school shootings would take place at the same rate?
Far less, especially if you also have security right off the bat at the front door. This woman shot her way through into the school, and I can guarantee you if there was actual security there, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, luckily this time, the police got there in 13 minutes, and by the time they got there, it took 3 minutes to respond and take out the shooter. But look at Uvalde. That took forever. They did nothing, and you're relying on these people who have the guns, but they're just standing around. You need to be able to defend yourself. It's not about gun problems. It's about people problems. This person is, I don't want to say mentally ill. This person is a psychopath. She had a manifesto that hasn't been released yet. Like, this person not only needs to be watched, but there need to be people who are armed and ready to take care of this when it happens.
And the fact that the media and the politicians are treating this differently than any other shooting because it was a trans person who committed this against Christians says a lot. I mean, Senator Josh Hawley just said that we have to look at this as a hate crime because that's what it really is. I mean, it's a violent crime motivated by hatred.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at it that way.
It's an act of complete terrorism. And then the police come out and apologize for dead naming this person. It's despicable.
For using the wrong pronoun. That's what they're talking about. Using the wrong pronoun of a dead psychopath.
Yeah. Like, this person should have no respect whatsoever, okay? This person killed children. Who cares? You should not be apologizing for this. And this shows the state of our society. We're more concerned that we dead named this psychopath than that children were killed.
Well, let's reverse the roles. Let's say a Christian nationalist goes into a transgender school and kills a bunch of LGBT whatever individuals, children. Well, then at that point, the media would lose their minds and say that this is a hate crime. This is the greatest hate crime that's ever occurred. But because it's the other way around, Christian children were murdered by one of their own. So no one's talking about it.
Yeah, if they do talk about it, they have two lines of thought then. Well, guns kill people. Okay. And on the off chance that people kill people, if the off chance that this person actually made a conscious decision to go and murder these children, she was pushed to this. This is actually your fault still. This is still your fault because you pushed them to this. You pushed them to the brink of society because, God forbid, we say that it's a mental illness when you're a woman and you call yourself a man. Like, it's not our fault. It's not the gun's fault. It's this demented person's fault, and it's society's fault for saying this is totally fine. This is okay.
Here are the facts. Colorado Springs shooter identified as non-binary. Denver shooter identified as trans. Aberdeen shooter identified as trans. And now the Nashville shooter identifies as trans.
Yeah, exactly.
The last shootings were not Christian nationalists. This is clearly a mental health problem. On the side of the transgender movement.
Exactly. What do you expect? What do you expect when you tell someone, no matter what I do, it's acceptable to this society? It's totally fine. Not just being a woman and pretending you're a man, because that's what you're doing, but every matter of immorality, whether it's being sexual in front of children, whether it's passing these bills, whether it's just saying whatever the heck you want to children and doing whatever you want, they think this is totally acceptable. And this wasn't just a suicide, okay? You didn't take your own life. You took children's lives with you because you're a sick human being.
And here's the reality. Here's what's the sad part. Transgender people have a higher suicide rate than people in concentration camps in the 1940s. Under Nazi Germany. They're more likely to commit suicide than people in the Holocaust.
In Auschwitz. They have a higher suicide rate than slaves in America during when slavery was legal. It's a 42% suicide rate among transgenders. You cannot tell me that's because you have it harder than slaves or that you have it harder than Jews in Auschwitz.
You can't tell me that society is driving them to this point because society on every single aspect accepts them. In the justice system, in government, in schools, in society, mainstream media, social media. Society in general accepts these people. So you can't tell me that society is driving them to do these things.
No, and you know exactly, you said it before, exactly what it would be if it was a white shooter in a black neighborhood or whatever. The problem would be, well, we need to deal with this at its core. This is white supremacy. This is racism. We need to deal with this at its core. We need to deal with the problem and stop just saying, well, we got to have more security. That's what they tell you. But in this situation, we don't deal with the root of the problem. It's not just mental health. You guys are literally demonic, okay? The root of the problem is not just, well, this person was suicidal, we need more gun control. The problem is your entire community, the LGBTQ community, and your not just your mindset, but the spirit behind it.